I'm Lieutenant Navy Terry McCutcheon, and I'm a Training Development Officer currently posted to the Canadian Forces School of Communications and Electronics. The aim of this video is to provide you, the instructor, with a quick reference for applying instructional skills. In this three-part video, we're going to work our way up from the very basics of instructional skills to day one of instructing, to the ongoing keys for successful instruction. The first topic we're going to cover affects both new and experienced instructors, and that is nervousness. Even if you've never instructed before, you've probably had to give a briefing at one point or another, and even though you were well prepared, maybe things didn't go exactly as you thought they would. Maybe the members you were briefing weren't exactly responsive to your message. Maybe they didn't react the way you thought they would. Or throughout your briefing, maybe they were interrupting with questions you thought were outside the scope of the briefing. As a result, maybe you were perspiring, or your hands were shaking, or you just couldn't get the words out properly. Well, whatever your reasons for being nervous, and however your nervousness manifests itself, nervousness really comes down to two things. First reason for being nervous is fear of the known. You've been in front of a group before, and during those initial few moments, you found yourself getting nervous. Now you might be thinking, based on my past experience, I know when I start instructing, I'm going to get nervous again. The second reason for being nervous is fear of the unknown. You can create all kinds of scenarios about why or about what might happen when you begin instructing. If you stumble through the introduction, how will the students respond to you? Will you be able to recover? Will the course ultimately be successful? This fear of the unknown can create challenges. So how then can we at the very least minimize, maybe not eliminate entirely, but minimize our nervousness? Well, there are two things we can do. First thing we can do to minimize our nervousness is accept it. Accept that in the lead up to your course start date, and particularly on day one of your course, you're going to be nervous, because it's the natural reaction. Being nervous does not represent some kind of fundamental character flaw. Now, that doesn't mean that in accepting that you're going to be nervous, you have to go around and tell everyone you work with that you're nervous. And it certainly doesn't mean that you have to tell your students that that you are nervous. However, just acknowledge to yourself that yes, in the lead up to the course and on day one, I'm going to be nervous. And whatever you do, don't tell yourself that you shouldn't be nervous, because that will just make the situation worse. So accept that you're going to be nervous. Second thing you can do to minimize your nervousness, particularly on day one, is to stick to the course content. You've had the training. You've done the jobs. You're a subject matter expert. Fundamentally, you know the course material that you're going to instruct. Now, of course, you're going to have to make time to become familiar with the layout of the course, but you know the material. If you had to explain some process or procedure relevant to the course to a coworker, you could do that. And you could provide considerable detail as well. Now, you just have to do it in front of a group of students. So, on day one, when you find yourself getting nervous, remember, stick to what you know, the course content. The next topic we're going to discuss is body language. Body language is critical to support the content you're instructing on your course. If your body language is closed off, hostile, or defensive, even if you don't mean it to be, then your students are going to mimic the feeling they get from you. This will not create a positive learning environment. However, if you have positive body language, if you adopt a confident stance, then your students will view you as professional, and they'll view you as someone with credibility. As an instructor, there are 4 areas of body language that you need to focus on. The first area is posture. Your student's opinion of you begins as soon as they lay eyes on you. So, when you enter the classroom or training environment, make sure you move with a sense of purpose. Stride confidently to the front of the class. When you get in front of your students, make certain your legs are a little less than shoulder width apart. Keep your chin parallel to the floor. This will extend your spine, making you look taller. And then wait. Wait until all eyes are on you. Now, before you begin speaking, remember, inhale deeply. That first breath is going to establish your maximum lung capacity for the lesson. And unlike other patterns of behavior where you have to do something 3 or 4 times in order for the pattern to be set, when it comes to breathing before instructing, 1 time is all it's required to set the pattern. Now, just so you don't forget to breathe, let's do a quick exercise. To yourself, say the letter E and hold it. Notice when you say the letter E, your tongue is pushing down on your jaw, causing your jaw to be clenched, your face to be tight. Now try breathing in. You can do it, but with all aspects of body language, including breathing, we want all movements to be subtle. So if you continue to instruct with a clenched jaw and you try to breathe in, you're eventually going to get a hissing sound. That's the wrong way to do it. Now, try saying the letter O. Notice your tongue is not pushing down on your jaw is relaxed, your lips are slightly open. Now breathe in. Notice the difference? So remember, before you begin speaking, say the letter O, hold it, and then breathe in. Once you have maximum lung capacity, then you have options. When you begin speaking, you can either speak more loudly, more quickly, more slowly. Those options are up to you. You won't be worried about losing your breath, trying to get the words out. That'll have an effect on your posture as well. As soon as you're struggling to get the words out, your head is going to drop. You want to always be maintaining eye contact with your students. So make certain you take that first breath. The second area of body language is gestures and movement. When instructing, most of our gestures come from our arms and hands. When instructing, you want to make sure that your palms are always facing the students and that your hands are always open. From time to time, you can use closed-handed gestures to make a point, but you never want to be pointing at your students because the interpretation is you're being hostile. One concern that most instructors have is what to do with their hands and arms while they're instructing. Sometimes your arms and hands seem to take on a mind of their own. So when you're in front of your students, you find yourself doing a number of things that you normally wouldn't do. And instructors are left wondering, how do I get control of these arms and hands? Well, some instructors try to get control of them by crossing their arms and clutching their hands in front of their body. Then, natural inclination to gesture when they're speaking kicks in, and they bring them out. And then they remember, got to keep control of the hands and arms, and they bring them back. So eventually, you get into a flapping motion. You don't want to create some kind of peep show. So avoid crossing your hands in front of your arms. Same thing, some instructors try to keep their hands behind their back. Natural tendency to use their hands kicks in again, and it comes out, but then they quickly put them back. If you do this, particularly on a long course, you're going to get very tired. If you want to keep control of your hands and arms, simply do this. You can continue to speak. That way, you have complete open access, arms and hands when you need them. If you're losing control of your arms and hands, simply put them back like this, in this position. When it comes to movement in the classroom, from time to time, you'll see instructors doing laps around the classroom. And the students, they hear a voice and they're wondering, where exactly did the instructor go? You want to make certain that you're always in front of your students. So it's difficult to speak and stand in the same spot. So what you want to do is keep yourself in a 3x3 box. Take a couple of steps forward, to the side, back, but there shouldn't be laps around the classroom. And you shouldn't be walking back and forth from one end of the classroom to the next in front of the students. Remember, keep yourself in the 3x3 box. The third area of body language is eye contact. When you begin instructing, your world inside the classroom is very small. You may make an effort to make eye contact with your students, which is good. However, what you're actually seeing or what you're able to respond to is very limited. You may, in fact, see students talking in your class. However, you're so focused on the content that these other aspects of what's going on when you're instructing fall by the wayside. When you get more confidence as an instructor, the more you're actually in front of the students, the more you initially stick to your course content, then your confidence will grow. And the eye contact will become very effective. There are a couple of reasons that we want effective eye contact with the students. The first is you need to be able to monitor the student's understanding as you're instructing. So you can tell if when you make a statement, it doesn't register exactly with a couple of the students. You'll be aware of this. Also, eye contact builds rapport with your students. And when you're making eye contact, you want to be certain to hold the eye contact for 2 to 3 seconds. If you go faster than this, then it'll look like you're simply scanning the students as opposed to actual eye contact. When you're instructing, make certain you're looking at your students. Don't look at objects around the classroom. Those aren't where the answers are. You're instructing to your students, so you want to make sure the eye contact is 2 to 3 seconds. You can also use eye contact for longer than 2 to 3 seconds as a potential classroom management tool. If you have a few students who are speaking while you're speaking, then holding eye contact with them will probably be enough to get them to stop talking. So remember, sustain eye contact with your students for 2 to 3 seconds. This will help you assess their learning. The fourth area of body language is facial expression. There is no requirement when instructing in the CF to maintain a permanent frown on your face. When it comes to facial expression, you want to keep a neutral, natural facial expression. There's no need to be overly enthusiastic, and there's also no need to be overly negative with your facial expressions. So keep your facial expression neutral. In part one of this video, we looked at nervousness and some of the reasons why we get nervous. Fear of the known, fear of the unknown. We also looked at how we can minimize our nervousness in the lead up to our course start date and on day one of the course. Accept that you're going to be nervous. And on day one of your course, stick to the course content. We also looked at body language in part one of this video. And we focused on 4 aspects of body language. First, we looked at posture. Second, we looked at gestures and movement. Third, we looked at eye contact. And fourth, we looked at facial expression. In part 2 of this video, we're going to move on to instructing on day 1 of your course.